We've got a system. We're following that system. A lot of superdelegates have independent judgment about who can win and who can be the best president. I respect their judgment. Oftentimes, they have firsthand knowledge of the candidates. So historically, independence has been part of what we've looked for from the superdelegates.
That may be true, but it sure feels undemocratic to have party insiders holding 40% of the delegates needed for either candidate to win. Even after Obama's big wins last night and his growing lead in the pledged delegate column, it's the coveted, quote, superdelegates that still could be the king or queen maker at the Democratic convention in Denver. Perhaps that's why the Clinton camp today continued to play up its decisive edge in the superdelegate battle, 261 to 180 by the latest NBC News estimates, and some of Obama's backers reportedly huddling in Washington to shore up support from superdelegates for them on Capitol Hill. Now, for weeks, I've been calling for these party insiders to step aside and let the voters make the decision. You can say it's changing the rules midstream, which it is. That was the same argument we heard in Bush v. Gore. But new rules are better than ones that will lead people to lose faith in the system. If the superdelegates decide this race, the Democratic voters will never forgive the party. Joining me now is the president of Air America, Mark Green, and Kate Obenshain is back with us. All right, Mark, so you think I'm wrong here. Why?
You know, Dan, you and I are lawyers who revere due process of law, a cornerstone of which is that it's unprincipled and unethical and unlawful to change the rules during an election season, much like it would be wrong to move the goalposts in the third quarter because your kicker has a weak leg. Dan, you and I could figure out maybe a better system on how to choose a nominee. Let's convince Howard Dean to appoint the Abrams Commission. I'll serve on it prospectively. But you remind me of a high-minded, adorable version of President Bush saying he unilaterally won't comply with the 1978 FISA law.
All right, but
conditions have changed.
Here's the problem. All right, first, let me ask you a question, Mark. All right, Florida. All right, this is how consistent I am in my willingness to change the rules. In Florida, all right, you had all these people go to the voting booth. Obama and Clinton were both on the ballot. All right. I'm willing to now say that maybe those votes should even count. Another change in the system. I assume then you disagree with me about that as well.
Of course, because that's unprincipled. Look, you and I could figure out a better system to the Electoral College. Call it majority rule. That doesn't mean you and I could have said in the year 2000, Gore should now sit as president.
But see, what happened, but Mark, you're talking too much like a lawyer. The bottom line is, in Bush v. Gore, what happened was we had rules. There were rules, and there were laws, and there were principles. And we got to the end, and the bottom line was everyone said the system stinks, and the voters didn't matter. And people got angry and upset, and they lost faith in the system. And I am afraid that that's what's going to happen again.
Dan, the reason that we have this quandary is not that there are these boss tweeds and boss dailies. These are congressmen, senators, and party leaders.
And the 21-year-old kid who was on this program last week, who's never voted in a presidential election before in his life.
Dan, do you have something against grassroots leaders? 21-year-olds are helping Obama be the nominee.
Kate, I'm going to bring you in, Kate. Here's the problem I have. I'm going to give you the numbers, all right? 20,458,598 Democrats have voted so far. 2,168 delegates have been allocated. That means that so far, one superdelegate, one of these people who get to decide whatever the heck they want, are the equivalent to 9,437 votes. Go ahead, Kate.
I agree with you, Dan, that there is the problem of perception that this is going to be decided in some smoke-filled room, and that would be devastating for the Democrat Party. There is a practical issue here, and that is the same one that Fritz Mondale and Gary Hart faced coming into a convention where they're virtually deadlocked, where they're roughly even. And then that's a practical issue. Who's going to decide? And the superdelegates do come into play.
I have no problem if there's a deadlock. I get it. If there's a deadlock, a literal deadlock, and they are literally tied, I am happy to have some group of superdelegates make the decision.
Because of the proportional representation system that the Democrats, in fact, one of Hillary Clinton's chief advisors, implemented, you face the very real prospect that that's what's going to happen. But I think you're seeing a lot of the superdelegates saying that they're going to go along with the will of the overall delegates if there is a big space. I
guess some of them are saying that, but not New York Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, who says, I'll be with Hillary until the end. end. We don't want to. We don't want to change the rules now. Go ahead, Mark.
Ted Kennedy will be with Barack Obama, despite Massachusetts. Dan, in 1982, the party said proportional allocation of delegates based on votes, which is Democratic and has ended up 26 years later helping Obama since Clinton's won big states. And let me finish.
But I don't care who it helps. I don't care who it helps. It's a matter of principle.
It said that superdelegates could help break a tie. The reason we're in this quandary is not this rule. It's we have two extraordinary candidates comparably matched, and if they come into the convention, and one of them is 200 delegates ahead, you're right. But if they come in 50.5 to 49.5, even Obama has said they can use their judgment who's strongest
if
against
it's that close, that's fine. Then I'll agree with you. My point is, if one of them is way ahead going into the convention and it all becomes dependent upon getting the loser is trying to get all the superdelegates to change the outcome, that is going to be a disaster for the party. I've got to end this, Mark, but you agree with me. That would be a disaster for the party.
I agree. What's the number, Dan?
Right. Oh, look, the number is, I agree with you. If it's that close, if it's going to be that close, then somebody's going to have to decide. Mark Green and Kate Obenshain. Well, thank you. Not me.
Thank you.
What do I? Anyway.